So, yeah, whatever questions you had, Chirag, please feel free to ask.
Uh, yeah, first question is that like every reading, just before in the starting, you say that uh, from Srimad Bhagavatam, like our aim is to understand Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī,
Mm.
right? So, couple of questions. First, like, who is Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, and why is it necessary to to understand Radharani and not Krishna itself?
Wonderful question. Thank you. And namaste, Shivam.
Hello.
So, so before getting to that, it's important to understand what Bhagavatam is. Okay, so we know we have the four Vedas, right? That is the traditional scriptures from India, the four Vedas, right? And they were written, it's universally accepted among all of the different perspectives of Hinduism that Veda Vyas wrote the Vedas, right? Vyasadeva wrote the Vedas. This is universally accepted. So the four Vedas are incredibly vast, dealing with many different material and spiritual topics, not just spiritual topics. They also teach how to exploit the material world. So Veda Vyas wanted to give more of the essence of the spiritual side to show what is, because that's really what the Vedas are aimed at. They're trying to show a trajectory through the material stuff to the spiritual realization. So Veda Vyas, after having the desire to show more of the spiritual essence of the four Vedas, he composed the Vedanta Sutra. Have you heard Vedanta Sutra?
Yes, a little bit about it.
A little bit. So there are generally considered, let me just have the names properly. The Vedic darshans, which are the disciplines that one can learn from the Vedas. There's six of them, the Sad Darshans. They're called the Sad Darshans. So they're considered Nyaya, which is like logic, Visheshika, Sankhya. Sankhya is like about the elements, the Pancha Mahabhutas, and the subtle elements as well, the mind, ego, and intelligence. Then the yoga, like the Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali. And then Purva Mimamsa, that's like karma Mimamsa. And then finally, they call Uttara Mimamsa, or the Vedanta Sutra. So these six darshans are basically the categories of knowledge that are derived from the four Vedas themselves. And they signify a progressive evolution from the material to the spiritual, where Vedanta Sutra gives the most spiritual essence. Vedanta takes the word Veda, and then Anta, the end of the Vedas, or the conclusion of the Vedas. So again, this was written by Veda Vyas himself, the one who wrote the four Vedas in the first place. So now, regarding Vedanta Sutra, so we can also say within that whole scope of the Vedic, you have the Shaivite, right, the Shaktiism, and then you can say the Vaishnav comes later in the Vedanta. But when it comes to Vedanta, which was composed by Veda Vyas, now you have different interpretations of that as well, right? You have Shankaracharya, who is, like probably the most famous within India itself and on planet Earth, the Advaita Vedanta. Then you have Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya. These different acharyas who give What is their perspective of the Vedanta Sutra? What is Vedanta Sutra trying to say, essentially? Because it can be a little cryptic. If the Vedas were cryptic, Vedanta Sutra also can be a little cryptic. Although it starts very clearly. The first verse is Athato Brahma Jagyasa. Now, therefore, inquire about spirit. Brahma. So it's very clear this is about spirit. So, we find out that Vedavyas in his spiritual maturity, while he has his pastimes on earth, he didn't stop with Vedanta Sutra. He himself composed a commentary of Vedanta Sutra. So what to speak of Shankaracharya or even Madhvacharya or Ramanujacharya, who were all individuals commenting on Vedanta Sutra, but they didn't author Vedanta Sutra. There was only one author of Vedanta Sutra, that was Vedavyas. He was also the author of the Vedas. And he wrote a commentary on Vedanta itself. And that's what Bhagavatam is, or the Bhagavat Purana. And so we find in the first few verses of Bhagavatam, it describes Bhagavatam as the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. Because it's Vedavyas's own progressive revelation from the four Vedas to the Vedanta Sutra to the Bhagavat Purana. And Bhagavat, that word Bhagavat, is same as Bhagavad Gita, right? It means Bhagavan. It's about the personality of God. So within Bhagavatam, we find narratives of Krishna and his devotees and the different avatars of Krishna and the devotees, the particular moods of the devotees, how they're relating to Krishna in different kinds of moods. Friendship, servitude, parenthood. In the 10th canto, as lovers, the gopis, different kinds of moods that the devotees are relating to Krishna or his different avatars. Varaha, right, Nrsimhadev, Vamana, like that. Kapila. So, finally, in the 10th canto, we hear about Krishna Lila directly, about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and his childhood pastimes, like that. At the beginning of Bhagavatam, it picks up from the Mahabharata war, actually, at the very beginning. So we hear about Krishna in that way. Krishna had just left the planet, and the Pandavas were all preparing to leave. Yudhisthira Mahārāja appointed King Parikshit as his successor. And so that's like how Bhagavatam starts. And the whole point of, as Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj has explained, what it means to look. So, okay, first, now that we established what Bhagavatam is in relation to the Vedas and Vedanta, which I think is clear, then, so who is Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī? And why focus on learning about her in Bhagavatam rather than Krishna directly? That's your question. So in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, there are 12 cantos altogether. In 10th canto, we find Krishna Lila discussed in detail. And when it comes to the highest part of Bhagavatam, which we don't know anything about, we can only repeat in a very poor way what we heard, is the Rasa Lila, right? Where Krishna is dancing with the gopis at midnight. They've all left their homes, and out of their pure love, this is not a mundane affair, right? This is everything we find in the material world is a perverted reflection of what's in the spiritual world. So we cannot think about that Rasa Lila in terms of earthly activities. But we hear that Krishna had this Rasa Lila with the gopis who all snuck out of their homes late at night to come dance with Krishna. And in Bhagavatam, it's described that one gopi out of all of them held Krishna's attention the most, and that even though he loves all his devotees, he's impartial. At the same time, when this one gopi disappeared from the Rasa Lila and went off into the forest, Krishna could not help but to follow her. And that gopi is never named in Bhagavatam. The name Radharani doesn't appear anywhere in Bhagavatam. But this shows that there is this special personality whom Krishna has particular affection for. And then, through the Vaishnavas, through that spiritual culture that has evolved alongside the revelation of Vedavyas and Krishna's pastimes on earth, so that spiritual culture of the Bhagavat, those who follow that are called the Vaishnavas. Through them, we hear about Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī and who she is. So, who is Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī? She is Krishna's other half. God doesn't just have a masculine form, right? Krishna is a masculine, right? Masculine means Shaktimam, the controller of energy or the source of energy. But that controller or source of energy necessitates the existence of energy simultaneously. Otherwise, there's nothing to control. There's no meaning to being a Shaktimam without the simultaneous necessary existence of Shakti. And the purest form of that Shakti is Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. So one of our acharyas, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, explained divinity as the predominating and predominated moiety. A moiety is a whole that has two necessary aspects to it. It's one whole, but it has difference within it necessarily, a moiety. So one half is the predominated, the Shakti, that which is controlled, and the other is the predominating, the controller, the Shaktimam. So that's Radha and Krishna. That's why whenever we hear divinity being worshipped in India, we always hear of Radha Krishna, or Sita Ram, or Lakshmi Narayan. It's always this feminine, masculine together. And the highest expression of that is as Radha Krishna. And when we say the highest, what is the standard for determining highest? It's sweetness, purity of love. We find the purity of love in the most self-surrendered, free of all conception of opulence or any other thing that would take away from just the heart-to-heart connection and full self-giving in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So, when we're told that in Bhagavatam our goal is to learn something about Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, even though her name is never mentioned in the book. So this is what Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja, this is all what he explained to me. I don't know any of this. This is just, I'm telling you what I've learned from him and from our acharyas. So to learn about Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī and Bhagavatam is to accept Radha Krishna as the fountainhead of all rasa, of all relationships between Krishna and his devotees. Madhurya rasa is that loving relationship that Radha and Krishna have, and there are different kinds of rasas. We can use the word below, but not in an inferior or disrespectful kind of way. It's just the purity of love isn't as fully manifest in Madhurya rasa. So the other rasas that are basically coming down from that fountainhead of Radha and Krishna's love for each other. So that means Shanta ras, neutrality, Dasya ras, servitude, Vatsalya, parenthood, like that. These other rasas which are described in the different pastimes we find in Bhagavatam, right? In the 10th canto, we hear about Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. That's Vatsalya ras. We hear about Balaram. That's a combination of Sakya ras and Vatsalya ras. Friendship and parenthood because Balaram is the older brother of Krishna. He's wrestling with him like a friend, but he's also looking out for him like a parent. He's the older brother, so it's kind of like a combination of those two rasas. We hear about Uddhava. Uddhava is in the mood of Dasyam rasa, I believe, or maybe he's he's Sankhya. Anyhow, I don't know properly. But the point is that in the different relationships that we read about in Bhagavatam, they're exhibiting moods, different moods of relationship. And those moods of relationship basically originate from Radha and Krishna together. So we know, just like any part of your body indicates the totality of who you are. When I say your finger, I'm talking about chirag. When I say your toe or your nose or your ear, I'm indicating you as a totality by mentioning a part of you. So when we read about a part of that rasa, a little fraction of it, we're actually referencing the totality of that rasa, which is manifest as Radha and Krishna. So when I say your toe, I might not be saying chirag directly, but I mean chirag. So when we talk about this kind of relationship or that kind of relationship, our discussion is focused on the immediate relationship at hand, but that's ultimately a part of Radha and Krishna as the totality. So that's behind the scenes. That's the spiritual context of the whole thing. So that's how we can learn something about Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī and Bhagavatam. And hopefully you were able to get something from that explanation.
जी Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So now we'll begin our reading. Dandavat pranam to everyone. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has given us this translation and explanation, the purports of Bhagavatam. And following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. He said that without understanding something about Rādhārāṇī through our study of Bhagavatam, then our study has been wasted. Yadi sevā-vañcitāḥ yasyāḥ kṛpayā vayaṃ labhema sarvaṃ prāpnumaḥ prayojanaṃ dhāmni śrī-bhagavat pade Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi sarvaṃ cha Yadi na jānīmahe tutam Aṣṭādaśasu sahasreṣu ślokānāṃ bhāgavat-oktiṣu Rādhārānīṃ na vindamātada Nishphalam bhāgavat-yayinam Radhikaya kripam vina Vyartasyat sarva-pariśramaḥ. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Rādhārānī within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, all of our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading from Canto 5, The Creative Impetus, Chapter 8, A Description of the Character of Bharata Mahārāja, Text 26. Evam agat amana manur atta kula hridayo mriga daraka bashena swarabda karmana yogaram banato vibram shitaha sayoga tapaso bhagavad aradhana lakshanachcha katam itarata jatyantara enakunaka ashanga sakshan nihishrisyasa pratipakshataya parityakta dushjaja hridaya bijatasya tasyaevam antaraya vihata yogarambanasya rajrishir bharatasya tavan mrigarbaka poshana palana prinana lalana nushange naviganayata atmanam ahir ivakubilam durati kramakala karla rabhasa apadyata. Shukadev Goswami continued, "My dear king, in this way Bharata Mahārāja was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire, which was manifest in the form of the deer. Due to the fruitive result of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga, austerity and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own son and family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was definitely due to his past karma. The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities. In due course of time, insurmountable death, which is compared to a venomous snake that enters the hole created by a mouse, situated itself before him." Purport. As will be seen in later verses, Bharata Mahārāja at the time of death would be forced to accept the body of a deer due to his attraction for the deer. In this regard, a question may be raised. How can a devotee be affected by his past misconduct and vicious activities? In Brahma Samhita 5.54, it is said, "Karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam." For those engaged in devotional service, bhakti bhajan, the results of past deeds are indemnified. According to this, Bharata Mahārāja could not be punished for his past misdeeds. The conclusion must be that Mahārāja Bharata purposely became over-addicted to the deer and neglected his spiritual advancement. To immediately rectify his mistake, for a short time he was awarded the body of a deer. This was just to increase his desire for mature devotional service. Although Bharata Mahārāja was awarded the body of an animal, he did not forget what had previously happened due to his purposeful mistake. He was very anxious to get out of his deer body, and this indicates that his affection for devotional service was intensified, so much so that he was quickly to attain perfection in a Brahmana body in the next life. It is with this conviction that we declare in our Back to Godhead magazine that devotees like the Goswamis living in Vrindavan, who purposely commit some sinful activity, are born in the bodies of dogs, monkeys, and tortoises in that holy land. Thus they take on these lower forms of life for a short while, and after they give up those animal bodies, they are again promoted to the spiritual world. Such punishment is only for a short period, and it is not due to past karma. It may appear to be due to past karma, but it is offered to rectify the devotee and to bring him to pure devotional service. Text 27. Tadhanim api parsva vartinam atmajam ivanu sochantam abi vikshamano mriga eva binishvishita mana vishrijya lokam imam saha mrigena kalevaram mritam anuna mrita janmanus mritir itaravan mriga sariram avapa. At the time of death, the king saw that the deer was sitting by his side, exactly like his own son, and was lamenting his death. Actually, the mind of the king was absorbed in the body of the deer, and consequently, like those bereft of Krishna consciousness, he left the world, the deer and his material body, and acquired the body of a deer. However, there is one advantage. Although he lost his human body and received the body of a deer, he did not forget the incidents of his past life. Purport. There was a difference between Bharata Mahāraja's acquiring a deer body and others acquiring different bodies according to their mental condition at the time of death. After death, others forget everything that has happened in their past lives, but Bharata Mahārāja did not forget. According to Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam chajatyan te kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. After quitting his body, a person gets another body according to his mental condition at the time of death. At death, the person always thinks of that subject matter in which he has been engrossed during his life. According to this law, because Bharata Mahārāja was always thinking of the deer and forgetting his worship of the Supreme Lord, he acquired the body of a deer. However, due to his having been elevated to topmost platform of devotional service, he did not forget the incidents of his past life. This special benediction saved him from further deterioration. Due to his past activities in devotional service, he became determined to finish his devotional service even in the body of a deer. It is therefore said in this verse, Mritam, although he had died, Anu, afterwards, Namrita, Janmanusmritir Itaravat, he did not forget the incidents of his past life, as others forget them. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.54, Karmani nirdahati kintu chabakti bhajam. It is proved herein that due to the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is never vanquished. Due to his willful neglect of devotional service, a devotee may be punished for a short time, but he again revives his devotional service and returns home back to Godhead. Text 28. Tatrapi hava atmano mrigatva karanam bhagavad aradhana samhihanu bhavenhanu smritya brisham anutpyamana aha. Although in the body of a deer, Bharata Mahārāja, due to his rigid devotional service in his past life, could understand the cause of his birth in that body. Considering his past and present life, he constantly repented his activities, speaking in the following way. This is a special purport. This is the special concession for a devotee. Even if he attains a body that is non-human, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he advances further in devotional service, whether by remembering his past life or by natural causes. It is not easy for a common man to remember the activities of his past life, but for Bharata Mahārāja, could remember his past activities due to his great sacrifices and engagement in devotional service. Text 29. Aho kashtam briyashtoham atmavatam anupatad yad vimukta samasta sangasya vivikta punyaranya Sharanasyatmavata Atmani sarvesham atmanam bhagavati vasudeve tad anushravana manana sankirtanar radhananu smaranabi yogena sunya shakalayamena kalena samaveshitam samhitam karchnena manastat tu panar mama buddhasrayan mriga shutam anu parishusrava. In the body of a deer, Bharata Mahārāja began to lament, "What misfortune! I have fallen from the path of from the self-realized. I gave up my real son's wife and home to advance in spiritual life, and I took shelter in a solitary holy place. In the forest, I became self-controlled and self-realized, and I engaged constantly in devotional service, hearing, thinking, chanting, worshiping, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. I was successful in my attempt, so much so that my mind was absorbed in a devotional service. However, due to my personal foolishness, my mind again became attached, this time to a deer. Now I have obtained the body of a deer and have fallen far from my devotional practices." Purport. Due to his stringent execution of devotional service, Mahārāja Bharata could remember the activities of his past life and how he was raised to the spiritual platform. Due to his foolishness, he became attached to an insignificant deer and thus fell down and had to accept the body of a deer. This is significant for every devotee. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotional service, we can do whatever we like. We have to suffer like Bharata Mahārāja and be condemned to accept the type of body that impairs our devotional service. Only the human form is able to execute devotional service, but if we voluntarily give this up for sense gratification, we certainly have to be punished. This punishment is not exactly like that endured by an ordinary materialistic person. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is punished in such a way that his eagerness to attain the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva is increased. By his intense desire, he returns home in the next lifetime. Devotional service is very completely described here. Tad anushravana manana sankirtana radhananu smarna biyogena. The constant hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord is recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Satatam kirtanayanto mam yatanantascha dridhavrata. Those who have taken the Krishna consciousness should be very careful that not a single moment is wasted, and that not a single moment is spent without chanting and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities. By his own thoughts and by the actions of his devotees, Krishna teaches us how to become cautious in devotional service. Through the medium of Bharata Mahārāja, Krishna teaches us that we must be careful in the discharge of devotional service. If we want to keep our minds completely fixed without deviation, we must engage them in devotional service full time. As far as the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are concerned, they have sacrificed everything to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. Yet they must take a lesson from the life of Bharata Mahārāja to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. Eating is not prohibited, but if we eat voraciously, we shall certainly sleep more than required. Sense gratification ensues, and we may be degraded to a lower life form. In that way, our spiritual progress may be checked, at least for the time being. The best course is to take the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami. Avyartha kalatvam. We should see that every moment of our lives is utilized for the rendering of devotional service and nothing else. This is the secure position for wanting one to return home back to Godhead. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 30 on Monday. So how do we take Srila Prabhupada's advice seriously there? He said not a moment should be deviated from serving Krishna and remembering Krishna and chanting his glories. Certainly for Srila Prabhupada and acharyas like Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj, Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Prapana Tirtha Maharaj, all these very sublime personalities no doubt have the capacity to do that. But what about, the fallen souls, like myself? How can we do like that in an honest way? We're always getting affected by the material environment, but at the same time, you want to take what they're saying very seriously and sincerely attempt in that direction. So to see Krishna as the organic whole, that he is the whole of which we are a part, and everything that we experience, including material things, are happening within the context of Krishna. So I feel like that, for me, that's been a helpful place to start. Right? The material energy is called Krishna's external energy. So it's still his energy. And just by remembering that much, everything is a part of Krishna. And even when we're in apparently materialistic circumstances, we still can remember Krishna by thinking, okay, unfortunately, I'm not able to get out of this material predicament at the moment, but I understand that this is Krishna's external energy, so I can still think of him. That much we can do. And then one step further is yukta vairagya, how we can use anything in the material world for Krishna's service. So that's like the next step. How can we utilize this moment to serve Krishna? I mean, just by remembering him, that's one aspect of service, right? Kirtanam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Just by remembering Krishna, that's service already. But like this, our consciousness has to develop slowly by the process of bhakti. So when Srila Prabhupada in these purports is telling us at every moment we should be remembering Krishna, serving Krishna, chanting Krishna's names, that's a fact. And he's giving us that goal. And he's also giving us the process to achieve that goal. So we have to take both. That process means there's going to be a lot of imperfection on our part on the way. But that's why the example of being in a shower is given. Srila Prabhupada would say that you shouldn't criticize people who are sincerely trying to practice bhakti, even when they're doing so many imperfect things, because they're in the shower. Of course, if we're in the shower, we're still dirty, but we're trying to clean ourselves. So why to criticize somebody who's in the shower trying to clean themselves? Right? No doubt they're still dirty, but they're trying to clean themselves. They're trying to practice bhakti. They're trying to remember Krishna. They're trying to see reality not in a self-centered way, but in a divinity-centered way, and understand that they are a part of that divinity, that they are functionally related to that divinity, that the purpose of life is to serve that function, that unique function that we have in relation to divinity. So whatever special gifts and special attractions that we have in life, those are to be dovetailed in our service to Krishna, not to be enjoyed purely for ourselves in forgetfulness of Krishna, but we're to engage in our inclinations, engage our talents in the service of Krishna, and in that way they're perfected. instead of getting some karma because we're self-centered actors, we're developing love of God. We're developing Krishna prem through those same activities, but oriented in a very different way. So it's just a shift of consciousness. It's a shift in how we think about what we're doing every day. It's a shift in thinking about how we see the world around us. And so that's what it means to think about Krishna all the time and to chant his name all the time and to always remember him. He's the whole, and everything in our experience is for him, and we just have to engage with the things that we're already engaging with that in mind. And by doing that, our lives will change for the better, and we'll make real concrete spiritual progress, and we'll see the evolution of our inner life, and that will transform our outer life. So like that. And having association like this, association of the Vaishnavas, Śrīmatī Uma Devi, this is the way to really make that progress in a stable and happy way. Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Anytime something is repeated 3 times, whenever the Shastras or the scriptures repeat something 3 times, we should take it very seriously. So, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi. Sarva Shastra, all the scriptures tell that we must have Sadhu Sangha, we must have Sadhu Sangha, we must have Sadhu Sangha. And Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Sarva Siddhi, all perfection. Through Sadhu Sangha, we'll attain all perfection. Means we'll actually become Krishna conscious. We'll actually have that vision that we're a part of divinity. And that's to be on the platform of Sat Chit Ananda, eternal life, full knowledge, full consciousness, and unceasing bliss, Ananda. So that's the prospect that the Vaishnavas have given us, and the process they've given to attain it also. So we feel very fortunate to remember these things and discuss these things. And yes. So before we finish for today, were there any other things to share from anybody?
Prabhuji, I have a question about chanting. Actually, there are 2 questions. Is chanting in mind same as like chanting through mouth? And if we chant in mind, is it still considered as service to Krishna?
So yes, it's still considered chanting to Krishna, but the Vaishnavas have told us that chanting out loud is considered better because you're doing 2 things at once. If you're just chanting internally, you're doing kirtanam, which is very nice, and you're serving Krishna, because service means shravanam, kirtanam, smaranam, and like that. But when you're chanting out loud, you're doing 2 things. You're doing kirtanam and shravanam, because you hear yourself chanting. So you're also hearing the holy name, and you're also sharing it in the environment. So if you're going on a walk, the living entities, the trees, the animals, they're also benefiting from the chanting, you know? So like that. So it's considered better.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Mahārāja, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Tirtha Mahārāja ki Jai.
Jai.
Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai. All
Jai.
glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhakti Veda Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai, Mayapur Dham ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju ki Jai. Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Giri Govardhan, Gupta Govardhan Dham ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund ki Jai, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi ki jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Nitai Gaur Manandi Hari Hari Hari.
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Jai Śrīmatī Uma Devi Dasi ki jai. Jai Bhakti Shimam ki jai. Bhakti Chirag.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Shri Krishna
Jai.
Keshav Prabhu ji ki jai.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Dandavat.